Coming up, Jesse gears up for the race and gets a full dose of sidecar mayhem. Jesse and Johnny pull up to the starting line. Jesse will have to maintain his speed in the turns or be forced to the back of the pack. With only 5 days to his first super sidecar race, Jesse's learning the art of drifting from 2008 champion Reese Millen.
I am the monkey on this one. I think some of the we do is just it's for television, man. Can't take it too serious. Just go with it. Drive a fire truck, okay.
Is he going to get past the first 3 guys? He's going to have to work for it. I don't care who he is.
Jesse has one more shot at winning a race.
Jesse James is an outlaw, and he's down to win. I'm exactly the same way. Like I said earlier, if we come off the bike, gravity will sort everything out.
As back pain threatens to knock him out.
Yeah. All right, you're up.
I didn't kill you.
I landed on the same spot, too.
Man.
It's race day. Time for Jesse to take on the most dangerous off-road race in the country. The Laughlin Hare Scramble.
This event is a very, very difficult technical event. Anybody that's willing to come out and take a challenge like this, that's not a real deep breathing off-road racer, that's pretty awesome.
Dude, I commend him to coming out here because for your first time coming out to a race, this is a pretty big race. And you got to have some big cojones to even just get in a race like this.
And top it all off with a dash of psychodrama.
He choked the cowboy on the 3rd day that we were living together.
What have you got? A red-hot recipe for chaos and anarchy. The most shocking revolution that ever rocked TV. Coming up, a Mormon goes to Mardi Gras.
I was kind of boy crazy in New Orleans.
And later,
you go to Las Vegas and all of a sudden, you become somebody else.
Coming up, a cast member gets the boot.
They're all seeing Tammy in her underwear, okay? Marla Wayans is on the phone listening to all this take place.
Yet the fight for Hill 875 is far from over. For 3 more days, the men of 4th Battalion and a few members of the 2nd will fight more bloody battles to push back the NVA. Finally, on Thanksgiving Day, 1967, the top of Hill 875 is taken. After so much than a few shouts of victory, there is little celebration to mark the taking of the prize that required such sacrifice.
My thoughts and reflections of 39 years ago on Hill 875 are of all the men who died and were maimed up there for no particular good reason other than going up a hill. I mean, once the hill was taken, it was given right back to the NVA. That doesn't diminish in any way the bravery, the valor, the gallantry, the sacrifice of the men that went up there.
I think everybody that I was on that hill with me, I feel an attachment to. I mean, we survived some of the worst fighting in Vietnam.
I'm sorry that I couldn't tell the guys I loved them back then, but I did. I was willing to die for them. Back then, I treated the guys so mean because I wanted to keep them alive, and I didn't want to hurt when they died because many of them died. But I loved them.
A day doesn't go by without me thinking about them one way or another. I owe my life to those people, the caliber of men that I was with. I would not be here today if it weren't for them. I feel I owe it to them to tell their story.
Just after dawn, the first wave of boats arrives at Green Beach.
I think the biggest challenge was getting my mind prepared to land at that beach, to hit that beach once that ramp went down.
Hill 296, so named because it's 296 meters high. It's rugged, steep, and strategically important.
Hill 296 actually commanded all of the hills in the area. From this hill, we overlooked Seoul. We could actually see all of the streets and all of Seoul.
This. It was. And I said, Chaplain, please give it to the medics. The medics will be able to use it. Even the wine, I said, that'll be welcome to some of the guys.
For Ray Zaccone, the chaplain's presence in the midst of such carnage somehow provides comfort.
Before we headed up there that morning, Father Waters had a communion service, and it was very appropriate because we were all feeling kind of uneasy.
Major Charles Waters is one of the 173rd's Catholic chaplains. Waters is 40 years old and isn't required to be near the front line of combat, but he wants it no other way.
He was a wonderful man, and he would come out with the soldiers, and he was the only chaplain I ever saw out there slogging through the mud and the heat and the sweat and doing that kind of work.
Father Waters had a mass, and I decided I should go to it. Even though I'm not Catholic, I figured I needed all the help I could get because things just weren't looking that good on that hill.
While SID combs the room for more evidence, investigators turn their attention to Dennis Brown, the victim's anxious roommate.
This individual was there during the crime and after the crime.
How Lois was attracted to LA's single scene shortly after her husband's death.
The victim was going through a rough time in her life, and she was kind of hanging out in the bars in the area of San Pedro.
In fact, Lois had made one local hotspot her home. But when detectives visit the bar, they learn Lois was not the one acting strange.
We need to get this statement from you right now. And
how did you get up here?
What kind of car you got?
My Ford Taurus. The silver Taurus.
They absolutely use your car in this homicide.
I'm scared for my life right now.
He didn't have a whole lot to tell us as far as details. He's saying that he has no idea why this took place, why they were targeted, doesn't know the suspect. If you believe that, then it just doesn't all make sense. So we're probably going to end up interviewing him again.
It's only like about an ounce, but it looks like, I mean, it looks like it's for sale. I mean, he's got packaging for sale, so.
Very good. Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate your help. See you, buddy. This is about an ounce of weed in there. Some scales, some baggies. We got to go back at Anthony, see what he has to say about it. Maybe he'll cop to it. I don't know. All right, want to talk to him? Sure. Yeah.
Weather and Galetta will re-interview Anthony.
The mall security ended up giving us a tape for the date of our incident, so we'll be able to go back and view that and see if Matthew Carson shows up anywhere on that. Well, you know, so far we've viewed about an hour's worth of surveillance, and the suspect is nowhere to be seen on it. Pretty safe to assume that he wasn't where he said he was.
This guy wasn't there.
It just so happens that this guy, Boy, Samuel Reed, in the computer system lives in the same projects as our suspects. We're going to put together a photo array that we can take out and show the victim's girlfriend, who's our witness, see if she can make a positive ID. And on the way out to the witness's house, we'll probably drop off the cell phone subpoena request and see if that'll develop anything also.
The victim is 28-year-old David Slapik. A professional painter and aspiring artist, David is also the father of a 6-year-old daughter. Slapik and his girlfriend were moving to Florida later this week. David Slapik's girlfriend is called to the stand.
When you look into the kitchen, what do you see?
Timo picked a pot up out of my kitchen sink and started hitting the overhead with it. I looked to my left, my door was open, I ran. Then I heard the first gunshot, and I heard Dave scream really loud.
Did you recognize this scream? And whose scream was that?
Dave's.
I don't think there's no player in the game of basketball that can break a breakaway rim because it takes so much force to tear down that rim.
But if you can break the backboard for the first time ever, the sound of shattering glass would be music to our ears.
That bird is fast!
Well, I ended up going top gear because the ostrich started moving. I'm trying to get away from me.
Dennis's Top Gear is nowhere near as fast as the ostriches. Here's why.
George has given us, his philosophy and then the team's philosophy, and our job is to go out and to find players, and then to be able to create depth for the organization. So if we do run into injuries, that we do have players that can come up and fit in and contribute. And then probably the difficult part is you have to wait quite a few years to find out if you were, right or wrong, or if that was the best pick you could make. People don't come in like Alex Ovechkin's usually as 20-year-olds or 19-year-olds and be that successful. There's usually a lot more of a development process that goes through it. I think a big part of what we've had is we've had more opportunity to draft more players in the top 2 rounds, and because of what George has done, through trades and acquiring these extra picks. It's as an amateur scout, when that's your job to go out and find players and make picks, and your boss gets you the extra picks, it's fun.
What a throw for me!
Well, we got a call from the Caps that Byron Dafoe had his knee scoped. He was very young, he was 18 years old, and they didn't want him in a motel where it might ruin the surgery or do something. So they called us, and could Byron stay with us for the weekend? And I said, well, it's Passover and we are observant, and he'll have to eat what we eat. And to see this kid from Vancouver try to get down a piece of matzah with a half a jar of grape jelly was an experience, and I'm sure it was for him too. I just think it's the atmosphere, and in our section, the people who sit there have been there since day one when Verizon opened, and these are the same people who've been there year after year, and so it's sort of like a family up there.
I know, man, it's on me.
That's punked, and you got punked, and you got punked, and you got punked, and you got punked.
You.
Shut up. It's all gravy, I gotta have a sip about it, no! It's all gravy, you guys don't try to pull something on me. We did it? Yeah. Man, I told you we'd turn that around. Yeah. It cannot be done! It cannot be done!